Hello and welcome to Hot Pursuit, part of Ahval video and podcast series. Today, my guest is, as usual, as before, Aykan Erdemir from Washington D.C, Senior Director of Turkey Program with Foundation for Defence of Democracies. Good to be with you, Aykan.
Thanks for having me.
Now, let's just have a sort of roundup, sort of tour d'horizon about the latest developments. Turkey is the goldmine of stories, and these stories are intensifying as we speak. The series of videos unleashed by the famous, notorious mobster Sedat Peker is occupying, of course, the Turkey's domestic politics agenda for weeks now. And there are some consequences and some things are left to be guessed, of course. But these have reverberations into northern Cyprus as well as Turkey. And all these, some sort of Pandora's box, again, seems to have been opened. With all those ghosts are dancing again about summary executions, disappearings, and illegal structures, the so-called deep state or shadow state of Turkey, again figuring out name droppings, everything. And this, of course, adds new question marks about the future of politics in Turkey and future of the power struggle in Turkey and future of Turkey in general. Meanwhile, there are also some domestic as well as domestic policy repercussions. There are some snapshots that seem to have been linked with these revelations or allegations, and these two developments seem to go together in a parallel manner. Okay, let's connect the dots and bring our viewers and listeners up to date about what is really happening.
First of all, to emphasize the significance of the process we're going through, let me give two numbers. On the one hand, we have a mob boss, Sedat Peker, who was within Erdogan's inner circle, who now has a stream of videos on YouTube that reaches over 15 million hits per video. And on the other hand, we have an entirely government-funded propaganda machine, dailies in Turkey, pro-government dailies, Erdogan mouthpiece dailies in Turkey, and TV channels in Turkey. And these newspapers, they sell less than 10,000 copies a day. So this is a very interesting asymmetry at work. On the one hand, you have billions and billions of dollars being poured into a propaganda machine. And this is what the Turks call the pool, named after a pool of illicit finance that Erdogan put together to take over Turkey's various media enterprises. So there's the pool media that has absolutely no traction in Turkey. And then there is a mobster who single-handedly, on a non-existent budget, is able to reach over 15 million viewers with his videos. And of course, the content here, which is basically a series of exposés about how the innermost circle of the Erdogan government has been implicated in narco trafficking, in money laundering, in extrajudicial executions, in disappearances, and in a range of connections linking Venezuela and Colombia to European drug networks, to Cyprus, to even, Latakia port in Syria. And now, on the one hand, yes, this is really a chain of shocking revelations. But on the other hand, most of the content revealed actually either builds on what the Turkish public already knows or suspects. So in a way, this is not a fully, let's say, an expose from scratch. It's, I think, what makes it more effective is it simply reconfirms, or reaffirms what people have known all along or suspected all along. And why this matters beyond the potential earthquake it has triggered within Turkey's domestic politics is that it also resonates closely with the ongoing troubles in Turkey's foreign and security policy domain. Because we know that over the last decade, Turkey's image as a NATO member state, as a Council of Europe member state, and as a European Union accession country has suffered greatly. Turkey was first implicated in helping Iran evade US sanctions in the 2012-2013 process. Then Turkey was implicated in terrorism finance when it comes to, Syria, and Turkey was named the jihadist highway. And then Turkey was implicated in the Maduro regime's evasion of US sanctions, in gold smuggling. And there were some rumors about also drugs. But now the latest revelations show that these are all really very well established networks and processes that enjoy complete impunity, and not only enjoy impunity, but receive logistical and administrative assistance from the top figures of the Erdogan establishment. So this again shows that Turkey's law enforcement structure has been penetrated to a great extent to facilitate money laundering, sanctions evasion, terrorism finance, and narco trade. And this, of course, will deepen the diplomatic and security crisis Turkey has been enjoying. Because on other fronts, the Erdogan government is already in dire straits. Just to give you an example, in the latest NATO meeting, to issue a harsh condemnation of the Lukashenko government in Belarus, we now know that Turkey blocked more critical language that welcomed further European sanctions and that demanded the release of political prisoners. So it is almost as if Erdogan is doing Putin's bid within NATO by saving Putin's proxy, Lukashenko. So that's one crisis in the making. The other one is during the latest Israeli-Palestinian clashes, the US State Department, which is known for its extremely moderate language vis-a-vis Turkey, issued one of the harshest statements condemning Erdogan for his anti-Semitic statements, calling them reprehensible and incendiary. Now, this is a language we have never seen with the State Department, especially when it comes to Turkey. And add to that the bipartisan unanimous consensus in Congress through the Committee on Combating Anti-Semitism. Add to that, this week's California State Senate's unanimous bipartisan decision to divest two of their leading civil servant and teachers union funds from Turkey. And these are funds worth over $600 billion. Now, this is the perfect storm. Like on all fronts, we see a harshening of language or action vis-a-vis the Erdogan government. And it's no longer just language. This is a new wave that has serious financial consequences in terms of capital flight, in terms of increasing of risk premiums, in terms of divesting from Turkey. And this will add to the pressure Erdogan is already feeling back at home.
That will be all. I think that covers it all up, and we will see what will take place in the upcoming meeting in the NATO summit between Erdogan and Biden. And as you paint this picture, this snapshot tells us that what you mentioned as perfect storm building may have some sort of climax maybe in that meeting. Maybe with the comment on that, brief comment on that, we can conclude.
And the perception in Turkey is that in the first face-to-face meeting with President Biden, Erdogan will again use his magic that he used on Trump to establish or re-establish rapport, and through this interpersonal relationship will begin to put US-Turkish relations back on track. Now, I think this is really not only a misguided way of reading US-Turkish relations under the Biden administration, but also is doomed to fail, just like Turkey's earlier attempts failed in DC since Biden's election. There was a similar naivete when it came to Turkey's reach out to Jewish, Armenian, Greek, and Syrian communities in the US. Turkey's rapprochement, or quote-unquote rapprochement, so-called rapprochement with Egypt, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. So the expectation in Ankara was that this charm offensive, this window dressing, would suffice to convince the Biden administration and global investors that a new era is beginning, that Turkey is now back on track to be on the Biden administration's good side, to be on global investors' good side. So this would fix Turkey's foreign policy problems as well as economic problems. Now, we have seen that none of that worked. Biden recognized the Armenian genocide. Turkish-Israeli relations imploded during the latest Gaza crisis. And there were harsh condemnations by a range of US officials and actors. So my expectation is that the NATO summit on June 24th, especially because it will be under the shadow of the Belarus crisis.
June 14th.
June 14th, yes.
You said 24th, June 14th.
Sorry.
Yes.
So Erdogan-Biden meeting will be on June 14th, and it will be taking place under the shadow of the Belarus crisis. Mm-hmm. And that meeting has very little potential to fix the structural problems that Washington and Ankara continue to have, with one exception. Because Biden's withdrawal plan from Afghanistan, which has a set date, 9/11, will put enormous strain on the Biden administration. And because Turkey has presented itself as a key partner and player in Afghanistan, there might be some willingness to establish some transactional relations on that issue, but on that issue alone. But that will not prevent all these other burning matters, these critical matters, from escalating further. So my quick take on US-Turkish relations in the next month would be that beyond Afghanistan, there is no easy off-ramp for Erdogan to salvage the relationship, and no chance for a repeat of the Erdogan-Trump interpersonal relations to fix some of the long-standing problems.
Joining me today in Hot Pursuit was Aykan Erdemir, Senior Director of Turkey Program with Foundation for Defence of Democracies based in Washington, D.C. Thank you for this conversation, Aykan.
Thank you for having me.